Ronan, and good morning, everybody, on a beautiful, lovely day in Dublin. Delighted to be here. I know we're going to get into a lot of data and detail on AI. Before we do so, I was asked to give a short presentation on our new strategy, Enterprise Ireland strategy, and I can tell you that as we were developing the strategy, AI, that word became more frequently used as we were building out, well, what does it mean to EI? How can we get behind companies, new companies in this area? What does it mean to our existing companies? How do we address it in the context of the research funding piece? But I'm not going to get into that piece. I'm really kind of keen just to give you a sense of where we're at in terms of our strategy, which has just been launched, and really the importance of everybody in this room today in helping us to deliver on the big ambitions within that strategy. So with thanks to Marie and Emma for putting today together, and also to Ronan and my own colleagues, many of them in the room, but led by Christian Stafford on the KTI side. So delivering for Ireland, leading globally, Ronan spoke about being globally competitive. Our strategy is really around how do we future-proof Irish industry to ensure that it is achieving positions of scale and positions of importance globally, but really having that key impact in Ireland, the jobs piece. So I'm not going to dwell on this. Lots of operating challenges, an environment that has issues and challenges for Irish industry. Not an easy time to be doing business, and then we have all that's going on in the US and the implications that is having, and so many conversations underway in EI at the moment on that particular piece, because as you can appreciate, we have a lot of food and drink companies that are targeting the US. It might be their main and their only market. Overnight, 20% more tariffs are landed on them. How do they continue to do business and win market share with those kind of challenges? And these are some of the ones in Ireland that we're all well familiar with. So our purpose as an organisation, as an agency, is around accelerating Irish businesses to be sustainable and to be the primary driver of the Irish economy. This is not to say that we're going to displace multinationals having the critical role that they have, but really from an Irish-owned industry, that we are ensuring that they are in future years powering the economy, and particularly regional economies, because regional communities, because they clearly are, and we can see some of the numbers in a bit. So there's 4 pillars to our strategy: the start piece, the compete piece, the scale piece, and the connect. And I'll go through these in great detail, or in some detail. These are some of the levers. And just to call out innovation, it's massively important. If companies don't have brilliant products, brilliant services, if they're not connecting with the research ecosystem in terms of the co-creation piece, if they're not emerging from the research ecosystem with that brilliant idea, if they don't have super people working with them, if they don't have the right funding, we don't have ingredients for growth and success. So the critical role of everybody in the room here on that agenda. So on the start side, we have circled the one that's relevant here, which is the 1,000 new startups. Within that, that's 200 startups a year that we've targeted for the 5-year period. 50 of them need to come from the research ecosystem. We are at 27. That was last year. So a big ask and a plea to everybody in the room to help us in this agenda. There's some brilliant work underway, but we clearly need to do more. On the compete agenda, 2.2 billion is the target in terms of R&D. It's currently 1.55 billion. So again, a big step up in that area. So we will be working really closely with industry to ensure that we're supporting them from a funding perspective, but critically connecting them to the research ecosystem to help on this particular agenda. But we need our companies to become more R&D intensive. We need them to do so to compete, not just in Ireland, but to compete globally. The future-proofing piece is critical. I won't dwell on much more on this slide, but I will call out the whole area of where does AI fit in the context of the competitiveness agenda, and the role of the infrastructure and the system in that regard. So our investments that we've made and continue to make, hopefully, in CEDAR, which is the National AI Centre, and a joined up conversation at the moment in the context of, well, what are the investments that Research Ireland will be making? And as you know, our centre structure is an IDA and an EI, it's a joint approach. So big area of opportunity for Ireland. The scale agenda, so we want more big companies, we want more Kingspans, more Glendimplex, more Kerry Group, we want more Ryanairs. And how can we create those companies? How can we ensure that they are scaling in Ireland and continuing to compete here? But from a jobs perspective, it's headquartered here, growing globally, and working really hard on that scale agenda. So we've targeted about 150 of our client companies that we want to bring on that journey. I'm working very closely with them on that, and innovation is mission critical. The Connect piece, I think, is a key one. There's a lot of infrastructure, there's a lot of accelerators, there's a lot of incubators, there's brilliant universities out there. And as an agency, we're hearing more and more from our clients that they not just want to connect with that, but they also want to connect with each other. So how do we ensure that we are leveraging in a really positive and collaborative way the investments that are in place right across the country? A key part of that is the target, which is 10,000 enterprise engagements with the research ecosystem. So if you do the numbers, that's 2,000 a year, and we're probably about 1,500 a year. So again, we've a step up there. Probably that should be closer to 5,000 a year in my mind. We want to be flooding industry with the universities, with research centres. There's so much that they can achieve from it, and probably at the minute, Irish enterprise, both MNC and our own client base, is not as connected as it should be. So there's an ask on Enterprise Ireland, on IDA, but also on your side to ensure that you have the right tools, the right people, the right connectivity back into industry. So measures of success, a lot of really big numbers here. We are just finalising our ABR figures from last year, but it'll be interesting to see what that figure looks like. But let's say it's mid-30s, mid-30 billion. We need to get to 50 billion in terms of the export base. We need to get to, I mentioned before, the 2.2 billion, and that's from about 1.55 billion. The 1,000 startups a year, a massive uplift there. And the productivity agenda, I think, is a key one as well. How do we ensure that our companies remain as productive as they can? What does that look like in terms of their people, their process, and their connections externally? So it's delivered through our people, service excellence. We're in the middle of a big digital transformation project. Really exciting one that, you know, is going to get us even more connected with industry, giving greater insights to what our companies are doing, where they're investing, what supports we can give, what impact that has, how we're connecting externally on it as well. And obviously the partnerships that we have is really important. So you may have seen this slide before, but, you know, just to double down from a research and development perspective, it makes a difference when companies invest in this area. It makes a difference to their exports. They've 4 times more exports. These are companies that have engaged with the research ecosystem using instruments from EI, just to confirm that figure. And we know that it makes a difference in terms of their turnover. So when we go to talk to our companies about why they should be investing in R&D, why they should be connecting with the research ecosystem, these are some of the data points that we're using to show how compelling and how valuable and important it is. It's a huge area of interest for Enterprise Ireland. We're investing about 150 million a year, and we're doing so because we want to work with you guys to ensure that we're getting more spin-outs. So we've people in the room, commercialisation specialists that are helping on that agenda. We want to have much more connectivity between enterprise and the system. We want to transition and help on your side in terms of the transitioning of talent into industry. And we want that connectivity as well internationally. So Horizon Europe, I don't know, did anybody attend the session on Wednesday, I think it was, with Kevin Burke and the team? Yeah, there was a few people at it. So, you know, we're doing really well in Horizon Europe. We're probably over 1 billion in terms of drawdown against a target of 1.5 billion. But how do we connect with other jurisdictions? Live conversation underway at the minute about the US. So just on that start, compete and connect agenda, this is where it's relevant to you guys. It's the startup piece, it's the role that you can play on the productivity piece, it's the investment in the R&D piece, and it's the enterprise engagement piece. As you know, we have a very significant commitment under KT Boost to support the tech transfer agenda, the importance of knowledge transfer. These are some of the figures that are included there, and huge credit to my own colleagues, Ursula, Rowena and Maria, and Brian, I think, is in the room, but led by Christian in that team, working closely with you on this particular role. These are some of the targets and the annual average target, and some of them are doing really good, some of them less so. And we're very open to a good dialogue, constructive, positive, negative, on what more we can do to together, and it is that together piece. This is Team Ireland working together to try and ensure that the big investment that's been made by Europe and by taxpayers in this whole area of knowledge transfer is delivering greater impact in terms of industry engagement, greater impact in terms of the spin-out piece, but most critically, greater impact for our country. You know, we're at a pivotal time in terms of economic development in Ireland, and I think the role of Indigenous industry right now is important. It's going to be even more important in decades to come. So I think everybody in the room here today, I just want to thank you for all the support that you're giving us, for all the great work that is underway. We're really keen to work more closely with you, and I just wish you continued success with everything that's going on in the work that you do. We're going to move quickly into very detailed focus in on AI, but just to say all of what Ronan spoke about in terms of AI and research proposals, what you're seeing in it, the pace of change, you know, when I think of what we are approving through the IRCC compared to 3-4 years ago, everything is coming in with an AI element to it. They're getting to market faster. They're often starting with much smaller, for obvious reasons, smaller teams. As an agency, we need to get behind that in terms of, you know, companies that might not be 10 employees, but they will get to market very quickly. Funding, I was in the US in March. It is a live conversation, the volume of funding at a VC level that's going into it. So it's fantastic that you're having this very detailed conversation, and I hope the rest of this morning goes well. I'm not sure whether we have time for any quick questions, but if not, I'll happily take any over coffee break. So thanks for your time.